With over a decade and 8 movies of Chris Hemsworth in the role of a golden-haired god, we've had 5 directors and 5 very different energies ranging from noble prince to intergalactic dude bro. But what is the quintessential version of Thor Odinson? Do we prefer a god or a goofball? In the grand pantheon of Marvel superheroes, Thor stands apart. Not only is he a literal god, folding in real-world mythology, but he carries on his broad shoulders the weight of royal storylines, cosmic battles, and millennia-old adventures. How is one lowly Australian mortal supposed to capture this on screen? Let's look to the comics to build our perfect Odinson. As per our normal comic character breakdowns, I'll be peppering in some reading material for you all to go to, do your own homework, and form your own opinions. Starting at the creation of the character, Stan Lee wanted a hero that could beat the Hulk. He is quoted as to saying, "How do you make someone stronger than the strongest person? It finally came to me. Don't make him human, make him a god." Created by Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, and Jack Kirby, Marvel's Thor is inspired by Norse mythology, but brought into a science fantasy framework. I grew up with and became obsessed with J. Michael Straczynski's work on the Thor title from 2007 to 2011. In this, we get the fallout from Civil War, the immortal nature of Asgard, the cycle of Ragnarok, and the reintroduction of Donald Blake, all within the first few volumes. This run, among many other examples, showcases a couple criteria for the character. Number 1. Shakespearean gravitas. It's clear from almost any run you read, Thor speaks like he was ripped out of a 14th century ballad. His font is different to all the characters around him, the content of his words as well. Thor needs the feel of that age and to command an almost poetic drama. Number 2. Godlike power. As said, he was literally made to be stronger than the strongest. He is a god of thunder, a force of nature. Look at this battle between him and Iron Man at the start of Straczynski's run. He dog walks a man who just won a civil war against the other Avengers. Number 3. Human emotions. A bit of retconning and confusion amongst Thor fans is, who is Thor's mother? It's been Frigga, it's been the Phoenix, but my favourite and the most consistent is that it's Gaia, the goddess of Earth. So Thor is a child of both Earth and Asgard, and acts as such. His problems are godly, but his reactions are often human. Number 4. Mythical and cosmic weirdness. From space sharks to talking hammers, Thor often flirts with absurdity. This is a large appeal to the character. A Thor subplot at times feels like an acid trip compared to the more grounded Captain America or Daredevil plots. Now that we've set some rules, let's look at Chris Hemsworth's journey through the MCU, and for each movie I'll be highlighting a specific scene. We'll start with Kenneth Branagh's 2011 Thor. This is still set in the early MCU realistic tone, stating magic and science are just one, as Thor explains to Jane Foster, so I can't really give it points on mythical weirdness. What this movie does nail is the language of Thor. This movie has his Shakespearean roots as deep as Yggdrasil's. The scene I want to highlight is Thor's banishment from Asgard by the amazing Sir Anthony Hopkins. Just a great scene that perfectly showcases the gravitas of Thor's world, with the exception of those bleached eyebrows.
In the name of my father and his father before, cast you out!
Hemsworth himself leans into the formality of the dialogue, and although it may seem still, it's still a great entry to the character. Next up, we have Joss Whedon's 2012 Avengers. Chris unfortunately takes a bit of a backseat in this film when compared to the larger parts of the story like Tony Stark and Cap, yet the villain of this piece and the threat is very cosmic and very Asgardian. And to highlight that, we have Thor confronting Loki in the forest.
I have seen the true power of the Tesseract, and when I wield
Who
it...
showed you this power? Who controls the would-be king?
I am a king!
Not here! You give up the Tesseract! You give up this poisonous dream! You come home.
In this scene, as Thor and Loki discuss what it means to rule and be a god on Earth, it takes all the cosmic weirdness that is out of the realm of understanding of the other Avengers and bubbles it down to a familiar sibling argument. Humbling the other story plots into an everyday adventure for Thor's millennia-old story is great, and he is a heavy hitter in the battle scenes, but it's just not a standout performance. Now we have a movie that is often stated to be the MCU at its weakest, Alan Taylor's 2013 Thor: The Dark World. Now this movie has tonal inconsistencies and a weak villain, so I'm gonna count it out as a good Thor movie, but let's give Chris a shot to shine. The scene I want to highlight is his introduction to the movie as he battles on Vanaheim. This scene shows that even amongst his fellow Asgardians, he is a force to be reckoned with, and a leader on the battlefield. In this epic high fantasy setting, we have the grandeur and poetic tones with his godlike power, so I guess this is a plus, but let's move to a better movie because the less I think about this one, the better. Joss Whedon's second time with the Earth's Mightiest Heroes, 2015's Avengers Age of Ultron, is a movie that just gets better with age in my opinion, but that's a whole other video. How does Thor handle his adventures with sexy ChatGPT? I actually like how they handle Thor's sense of humor in this one, almost playing dry Asgardian wit against Tony's snark and Cap's earnestness. Some scenes that highlight this is him having a drink with Stanley and Cap, the Avengers trying to lift Mjolnir, and within the final battle where Thor is distracting Ultron for Vision to sneak up on him. But unfortunately, Whedon doesn't use Thor as effectively as the Russo brothers later would in their Avengers flicks, so it's slim pickings for a scene to highlight. I do like Thor confronting Stark when discussing Ultron, so that will also get an honorable mention, but for now, it's going to go to Thor's Scarlet Witch vision. Now, Tony is an outlier because his mental torture happens early in the movie to set up his actions, but when you compare Thor's visions in the shipyard to Cap and Widow's, Thor has cosmic and royal stakes. Cap misses his time with Peggy, very personal issues. Widow revisits her time in the Red Room, also a personal trauma. Thor has his best friend Heimdall accuse him of being a destroyer, of being the reason Asgard falls. He gets a premonition of both the birth of the Vision and of the Infinity Stones. Even in delirium, Thor's world is more cosmic and grand in nature. Other than that, unfortunately, Thor doesn't have much to shine in this movie, so on to his next appearance. Taika Waititi, once thought to be the savior of Thor's character, which we'll revisit later, takes the helm in 2017's Thor Ragnarok. Thor is reinventing himself as a self-aware comedic character, really leaning into the space frat boy energy that's been hard to shake ever since. Regardless, this movie has undeniable heart. Yes, it skips some of the Shakespearean tones I've been rambling on about, but it makes his cosmic Viking story grounded in human emotion. I want to give an honorable mention to the opening scene with Surtur and obviously Odin's death scene, but the scene I want to give roses to is the final battle. As Hela has Thor by the throat, he receives a vision from Odin. Recentering his own identity as a god of thunder, the leader of his people, we have a moment of human sincerity before he unleashes his godly powers on Hela's army on the Rainbow Bridge.
It's too late. She's already taken Asgard.
Asgard is not a place. Never was. This could be Asgard. Asgard is where our people stand.
Hemsworth redefines the role, but maybe at the sacrifice of his more poetic moments. Now the Russo brothers of 2018's Avengers Infinity War. First thing I want to say is this is the best looking Thor, and that's coming from someone who doesn't like a short-haired Thor. But this isn't about which Thor is the hottest, this is about acting. And the scene that takes the cake is Thor discussing his vengeance with Rocket Raccoon. Some honorable mentions. Thor turning the tide in the Wakanda battle is top tier, and the opening scene with Thanos raiding the Asgardian ship sets the tone for this movie perfectly. But back to Rocket and Odinson, they're posturing about the battle to come and discussing fate's place in Thor's life. In just a few lines of dialogue, we have Thor deliver his operatic monologue about how many enemies he has felled, meeting our criteria for
Shakespearean the park,
and how powerful he is. And then the gut punch comes, as he is asked what happens if he is wrong. Well, what else do I have to lose? His grief, his trauma, his human-like emotions, another criteria, and if you're asking how is this Thor's brand of cosmic weirdness, is having this conversation on a spaceship with a talking raccoon. Let's skip forward 5 years and discuss the Russo brothers' second entry, 2019's Avengers Endgame. This is where we get Fat Thor, or more politically correct, Bro Thor. Hemsworth takes a risk here, portraying Thor with PTSD and depression. I will say this, by default, this almost strikes this Thor out as great representation, but hey, let's still give him a chance. We don't get much of him in the scenes before the 5-year time jump, we get a drunk idiot after that, and we do get a fairly cool fight scene in the final battle. Okay, not off to a great start, but sandwiched in between, Thor time travels and talks to his dead mother. Within this scene, we find him to still be worthy, and a lot of emotional beats are met. I'm gonna give it part points for Shakespearean depth and human emotions. And now to our most recent Thor movie, Waititi's 2022 Thor Love and Thunder. To be honest, the way this movie was pitched as a space rock opera had me hook, line and sinker, especially after the use of Immigrant Song in Thor Ragnarok. This movie unfortunately fell flat on its face. so much so that the comics made fun of it. During Al Ewing's run on the Immortal Thor issues starting in 2023, Dario Agger, CEO of Roxxon, and the Enchantress curse an in-universe comic book to effectively change Thor's personality. As they write stories about their Roxxon Thor, real Thor becomes sillier, more bro-like, stupid. Who does this remind you of?
These guys.
Go shut up.
It's them obviously parodying what the MCU did to Thor through Endgame and also cemented in this movie Love and Thunder. The fact that the comics made fun of this representation, I think, disqualifies it as a comic book Thor that we all want to see. I'll find the small moment of glory in this, however. As Gorr, Jane, and Thor enter eternity, both Gorr and Jane are dying. Instead of stopping Gorr, Thor spends his and Jane's last moments together, reminding Gorr of the love he lost with his daughter. In this scene, we have very cosmic scale events, and Thor having a very human reaction to them. Pretty good scene. Doesn't forgive it for ruining one of my favourite Thor villains though, Gorr the God Butcher. Actually, before we decide on which Thor is best, I want to make one more comic recommendation. If you want to see what Gorr the God Butcher really did to Thor, please read Jason Aaron's run. It's probably one of my favourite Thor lines of comics, and that's saying a lot. But without further ado, we have worked our way through all Thor appearances so far in the MCU. Across 8 films, Chris has shown an impressive range as Thor. He has been regal, funny, broken, heroic, powerful, absurd, and straight up traumatized. But without a doubt in my mind, the portrayal that wins the gold is Infinity War. In that film, we see the Thor of legend, a god who has lost everything but keeps fighting, a warrior who inspires awe when he crashes into Wakanda with Stormbreaker in hand, a man who masks pain with humor but never loses sight of the stakes. Let's look back at our criteria. He has the Shakespearean gravitas in his monologues, the godlike power as he enters Wakanda, his human emotions with his grief and wrath, and lastly, his cosmic weirdness with his little space dwarf axe subplot. Infinity War Thor isn't just a superhero, he's a myth in motion, a tragic king, a thunder god clinging to hope. Hemsworth delivers a career-best performance that reclaims the character's nobility while retaining the humor that made audiences fall in love with him in the post-Ragnarok reinvention. Thor may be worthy of Mjolnir, but in Infinity War, Hemsworth proves that he is worthy of Thor.